All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Take Back My Brain. And we're going to have some fun today. So I have two very special guests with me, two of probably my most favorite people in the whole world. And I'm just about ready to cry because I'm so excited to get to talk to them today.
Well, don't make us cry.
I know. I've got Dr. Dusty and Ray, and they are in California. They live in Southern California, to be exact. Dr. Dusty is a chiropractor and a functional medicine practitioner, and Ray is a functional nutritional therapist. They have an amazing company called Simple Turn, where they provide health education for families so parents can train and equip the kids to change the world. And we're all about equipping families and changing kids and changing lives. So welcome, Dusty and Ray.
Thank you. We're
Thanks
so
for having
excited
us.
to be
We're
here.
pumped.
Yes. And so all the audience knows these people are very precious to me. I met Ray in functional nutritional therapy school. So we've known each other a very long time. And then she brought Dusty into the picture, and he's okay. I like him.
Yeah, I mean, he's been a great addition, I
I
would
try to
say.
live up to your
Great
guys'
addition. We'll
expectations.
keep him. Yeah. Yeah. And then they've got three of the cutest kids in the world. Tell us what their names are.
Adeline, she's 9, and then we have Paxton and Gemma, and they're a set of twins. They're a little combo package, and they are 16 months.
Awesome. Awesome. I love it. So you guys are amazing parents. This is so much fun. So you guys are waging war on the culture of health and the lies that the culture tells families about health. So I would love to know what you guys think are the two top lies that we are being fed by mainstream culture today.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, the first lie is that we're not capable. We're not capable pretty much of taking care of our health. We're not capable of taking care of our families. We're not capable of taking care of our education. We're just not capable. And with all the information that we have out there in the world right now, it's pretty much like, no, there's somebody smarter than you, and you can go out there and just Google it, and you're going to get the information. And if you're not 100% correct, then you're going to get bombarded by people telling you that you're not correct. And so then the fear sets in, and then you start to submit to somebody else that you feel might have a better answer or, more information that's out there. So I would say that that's the first lie, is that you're not capable.
Yeah, I would say the second lie is that we don't have to be intentional in everything. There's something in culture today that we easily just want to hand off responsibility to something, some substance, some person, some organization. And you see it all over, where we have just so easily given up responsibility in so many areas of our life that it's easy to then blame something else for an outcome that we don't want. And why we see that happen so much today is because we've bought into a lie in culture that you don't have to be intentional in everything. Don't worry, like, we'll educate your kids like 8 to 5, no problem. You don't have to be intentional in that. Oh, well, we'll feed your kids. Like, you're way too busy to cook for your family. Like, don't worry, we've got you. You don't have to be intentional in what you feed your family. So I think, and then, man, marriage, like, once you get married, don't worry, you don't have to work on it. It's like, don't worry, you don't have to be intentional in
No,
your
it's not
marriage.
refining at all.
Those arguments aren't just like subconscious little things that could have easily been taken care of if there was just a little intentionality and things. So I think like that culture lie that you aren't capable. One, you don't have to be intentional in everything. Then with that disempowerment takes that responsibility where it's easy to hand off to something or someone else. So I would say like those are the two things that we see today that we're facing a lot in just the reprogramming, and when we're working with families, just being able to say that.
Breaking that down into every category, from family to life to movement to food and nutrition, and the overall philosophy of caring for yourself. Every single one of those categories is under attack with those two lies. And you see it, we see it in the clinic as well. I mean, with patients that come in, they're not looking for tools to empower themselves as much as 99.9% of them are coming in acting as if you're my guru, please tell me what to do. I want to know, if you sell me something, I'll buy it, like, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. It's like the wrong attitude to start off with, and that's very much, I think, because of those two lies, people are being placed in those situations quite frequently.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with those two lies, that brings a chaos in so many different areas of your life. And then people give up because that one thing didn't work and they were stressed out about it. And then that led to another one thing and another one thing and another one thing. And all of a sudden they're like, somebody else has to fix me because I can't do it. Yeah.
Mhm.
I know. And we see that so much with apathy. I was just going to say apathy when you said that, because we like to call it the unhealthy culture machine,
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
it just is churning all day long. And it's almost like this big lazy river of just availability.
Mhm.
And it's so hard when, I mean, we, we like laugh because it's like people in our lives are like, can't you just be normal for a day, you know? But when we look at what's normal for the
Oh,
unhealthy culture machine, we look at all these statistics and we look at only 3% of people are maintaining even 4 basic habits in life, and
really?
yeah, and then we
Yeah.
have, like, 50% of our population has 1 or 2 more chronic
Oh,
diseases,
yeah.
and 70% are on prescription meds, and we look at normal, and we're like, normal for a
No,
day just doesn't look
Yeah,
attractive
we're
to
not
us."
interested in that.
no, I'm not interested in normal either. Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah. So how would you define health then? Because people they're so misled. So they're believing these two specific lies and then they're really misled. So they don't really understand what health means. So
Mm.
give me your definition of health.
Yeah, I'd say, well, number one, what it isn't is nutrition and exercise.
Mhm.
If you're looking at health as just flat out nutrition and exercise, you've already lost it right then and there.
Right?
You have to press into mental health. You have to look at the stability of your community, of your family. These are the people that you turn to when you're in times of problems and hardship. That's a huge part of healthcare. When you look at the individual and the identity, you have to be able to set boundaries to be able to define, like you said, chaos. It's order versus chaos, and being able to figure out that order means there are some boundaries in setting that up. And that's huge in understanding who you are and what your purpose is and what you're trying to cultivate in life. That is very much healthcare. Of course, you have nutrition and you have movement, but then you have to define your overall philosophy of care of how you're going to take care of self. And if you allow for the world to define that for you, then you're left to the world defining it for you. And that in and of itself, if you don't have a plan to fail. And that is very much the issue that we're having in defining healthcare, because people don't have a definition, therefore it will be defined for them. And then they're usually left, purchasing a gym membership and then going on a fad diet.
Yeah.
And pressing into the philosophy of care, healthcare is not found in a hospital. I know this is going to sound, it's going to sound kind of crazy. Healthcare is not found in a hospital. Healthcare is not found in a pill. Healthcare is not found in a lab coat. Healthcare is very much found at the end of a fork. Healthcare is very much found in emotional health and intelligence. Healthcare is very much found in healthy relationships and stability. Healthcare is definitely found in nurturing the individual, and so that they can empower themselves to be able to learn and grow as an individual, so they're not dependent on somebody else. If you're already broken and you're trying to fix broken, that's not healthcare, that's sick care, that's death care.
Yeah.
And I think it's a huge frustration within the system these days, because people are paying thousands of dollars a month for health insurance that
Right.
is not taking
Slave to the
care of their
system.
health.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, when and in just doing a ton of research with going into health and being able to see what is the all-encompassing aspect of how do you define health? And that can, like we were just mentioning in these last few paragraphs that we all talked about, it can feel very overwhelming and daunting. But what we like to say and what we like to just believe about health is it's not something new. It's something that we do every day. It's either done in function or dysfunction. It's not something that doesn't exist in our life. And so we're looking at all the aspects of what's in our daily lives and how do we just not do it fine, but how do we do it great? And how does this function in health, and how does this support our health? And so we look at our lives and we're like, well, everybody has a place they belong or have belonged, and that's family. They come from somewhere, and there's an original design for family that is so imperative to the individual's health. And that is the root of health. So it's either going to have function or dysfunction. And then you have the individual life. I mean, if someone doesn't know why they exist, what the purpose they have, what they have to contribute to the world, what they get to refine. And I mean, we were just talking about your daughter, Karina, and how she just loves horses and can do everything horses. And I mean, if she didn't know that was in her, she wouldn't have this beautiful thing to be responsible for and now just contribute back to the world with. And so just finding that individual purpose in life that is like, you have something to invest that's intrinsically unique to you. And then obviously we have to move it. I mean, health, we move every day. We have to fuel it. And then we also have to care for it. So not looking at something that is so elusive and might not be in your life, but you look at what are the things that I have responsibility over right now? What are essential to survival? And there's either going to be function or dysfunction in those areas. And how can we take simple steps and how can we start supporting that today? And I would say, a lot of people like health to be elusive because then we don't have to take responsibility for it.
Mhm.
And it's much easier because we've been bought into the lie that, oh, we're not capable for our health. I'm not capable to go to the gym without that outfit, or I'm not capable to, take care of my kids because I need I need all the resources for it, So I think
If I were to
that,
add one thing to this,
yeah.
I would say the definition of healthcare is elusive because it's based off of the culture that you provide for it. It's
Absolutely.
not it's not like a baseline definition, I don't believe. In a culture that we have now that is anti self-discipline, anti accountability, anti self-sacrifice, you're not going to find a healthy definition of healthcare.
Right.
You're not going to find it. And so cultivating a culture means cultivating a healthy family to which you can be able to shield yourself from a culture that's not providing healthcare and provide a definition for what that family is. I think that is only established, that definition of healthcare is only established in an ecosystem that you provide for your family, which I think is probably the next topic we might go into in cultivating that. But the multi-generational family that's been destroyed really has destroyed the nuclear family. And so there's a lot, I think, that needs to be discussed on that topic in order to really cultivate that definition.
Yeah, no, I totally agree on that because it is all about creating that family culture, culture of freedom in every area, right? But then we have
Mhm.
to, make sure that the freedom that we're giving our family culture is actually serving us well. So it could be, a negative as well. So let's talk about that. So really, what can we as parents and as individuals, what can we do to set our kids up to be successful with that culture of health, in all those areas that you guys are talking about? Because it's so multifaceted.
That is that is so true. So
That's
I
the
would, yeah,
question.
I would say that
It's very
one,
loaded.
I think if we're talking about setting up your kids for health, and if you're not necessarily just talking for the individual, if we're talking about, we're talking to the individual that already has a family
Mhm.
that you are taking responsibility for, I would say one, family first, but obviously how do you do that? And one would be like knowing your family's why, because everybody's why for having or trying to provide a healthy environment for your family is going to be
It's going to be
different.
different.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, I would say everybody could get behind the thought idea of we want kids to be healthy, happy, and to contribute good to the world.
Mhm.
That's a big idea
Yeah.
of what we can all get behind. But how we get there is going to be unique to every family because every family has their own culture. So
Sounds.
one way to we like to say to get to know your family's why is get to your top values as a family, your top 3 values. And your top 3 values could be that you like to serve, you like to adventure, or you just faith is a top value, and that's not going to falter. Those top values are what your family is going to always come behind. It's going to be your core reasoning for everything. And then you have your 5 characteristics. So maybe you define your 5 characteristics in a way that everybody contributes to this as a family. So your top 3 values, and your 5 characteristics. And that way, when you are leading your family as parents, to understand why you're adjusting your environment to support health, they know it's only to support your mission as a family here on earth. So if
Mhm.
you're called to serve, you can't be called to serve if you're not getting along as a family and if you're not healthy. And if one of your values is faith and you believe that you have something huge, not only for yourself, but for God to can give to the world, then you don't want to be burned down and exhausted and not being able to do that mission as a family. So that knowing your family's why and your giftings is really important because that will contribute to being able to help your kids understand why you're making these sacrifices and why your family's choosing to be different from what culture is, why you're choosing to be counterculture.
Yeah, and speaking, I mean, it's kind of like from a very, very mom's perspective, which I mean, I know your community is very mom centric. For us men out there, it could be as similar to a business. You know, if you look at what you do for work to provide for your family, it should be just as important to find that structure in your family because that is the value like that. And all of what we're talking about here is very much cultivating priorities. You know, if you want to make family a priority, then what are your top 3 values and your 5 characteristics? Like it should just be like a mission statement for your workplace. I mean, how are your employees going to show up to work and how are they going to interact within the workplace? What kind of culture are you setting for yourself? That is like the modern business model right there. If you
Right.
don't have a healthy culture or a mission statement, you ain't going anywhere. It doesn't matter if you have an amazing product. Like you have to create something in which people actually want to work and show up. Kids these days, they don't want to be with their families because they're not as fun as playing video games with their friends. You know, like there's always going to be something else out there that's going to be fun if you don't cultivate a sense of belonging and really set that the priorities for what you're trying to establish. The priority subset is so powerful and so necessary. That all falls under
Yeah.
couples.
Yeah. I would say be united as a couple would be the second thing as far as how to support a healthy family environment
Mhm.
and to support moving into creating a healthy environment for your family is be united as a couple, like invest in your marriage. And
Leadership.
I would say going into avoiding rushed family syndrome and creating that calm, like moving from a center of being calm, moving from a center of walking out peace in strength and in discipline is that you have to be in good communication with your spouse. Like
Yeah.
even just before our interview, just taking our 3 kids over to Grammy and Gramps, and you can easily fall into an aspect where you unnecessarily feel like you're doing it on your own when it's just like, no, I just need to include like, hey, Dusty, can you do these 2 things when I'm gone so that we're all set up, And so just that inclusion as a couple, because I think especially moms can take on this almost shoulder something that isn't theirs to shoulder that, oh, I need to do this because maybe my husband's working all day. And so it's my responsibility to take on this.
Mhm.
And then you feel you already divided maybe this aspect of no, he just wants to be included. So I think one thing of being able to be united as a couple is just assume that he always wants to know of how he can help, and then assume that you are okay with asking for help too.
Which is a
Mhm.
big deal. Because I've not wanted to do either one of those because sometimes it's just easier in the moment
Mhm.
to just take it and shoulder it, and then you don't really realize you're doing it. I think a lot of it's unintentional.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and hitting that on a weekly basis where obviously people say like, date often. I think dating can take in many forms. It's not like
Yeah.
going to the movies and a dinner. So like really kind of establishing that framework, but from there it's just communicating and talking about everything. So when you do show up in those moments, you can touch base, but know that you're going to have each other's best interest in mind or know that the other person has your best interest in mind because you are well communicated. You talk through things and you know where you're at that week. If you miss that touch point or you miss a couple, next thing you know, like a month goes by and then you're wondering, is this what she would do? Is this what I'm just going to do it
Right.
myself? And then it becomes very solo or independent. It's kind of like we like to compare it to, the airport. You rush to wait, you rush to wait, rush to
So
wait, rush
true.
to wait. You know, And in the rush is where people get lost, is like, but you're just anticipating the slowness amidst, like, the calmness amidst the rush. And then even in the rushing, you're very organized at that point because, in the calm that you're well connected. So
Yeah. And one thing, especially for moms, I feel or I know, like when you get an idea and you're like, this is going to be the best thing for our family, like, and you don't include your spouse in on it, and you don't have that open dialogue of just introducing the idea of being, and it's easier because maybe it's a great idea and you're like, I found this new menu plan and it's going to best serve our family. And then you introduce it to your spouse and he's like, wait, this feels like a left field. And if your communication isn't quite there, that it's just with being united as a couple and just already having the time to invest in your marriage, implementing changes and implementing things that you're going to bring into your family environment to support a functional environment of health is only going to be enhanced and less resisted with the open communication that you have in your marriage. And that goes into also with your kids. Your kids don't want to be told what to do. They want to understand why they're doing it. And you're going to have a lot less battles if you take the time and you center yourself and you're like, okay, we're not just going to tell our kids that this is the next thing we're going to do. We're going to explain why we're doing it that they can understand and apply these principles and apply these habits, not just to throw them away when they're not in our presence, or when they graduate from like high school. It's like, nope, we're helping them establish their healthy environment for health. One, by they know what our family's about, by understanding our top values. They know what we're about and our mission, and they need to support it with a healthy environment so that they can live it out unhindered. And then they need to see us as parents be united and at least be trying to walk it out together. Are we perfect? Absolutely not. Are we expecting any marriage to be perfect? No, but at least communicate, and that's perfect, and then making time to explain it for your kids. Those three things, with not even looking at like what you're eating or how you're moving, or how you're caring for yourself. Those three things are going to make adapting into a healthy environment for your family so much easier. And it's not going to be we're just going to try to quick fix it and try to not be broken. It's like, no, you're going to create a culture of health.
Care.
Culture of health, a culture of care.
Yeah.
So we would say the first steps for family is don't even look in your pantry. Don't even go to your refrigerator. Go to your family first. Go to your family first.
I love it. I do. I love that. And I would love you to speak more to, maybe this is more directed at Dusty at the moment, is because we moms, all those moms listening are like, okay, I need ideas. I need practical ideas. But the ones that my husband are going to go like, yeah, honey, that's a really good thought. Right. Because I hear that so much. Like, my husband will never let me do this, or he'll never be on board with it. I can do it, but this is never going to be my family, because my husband is like, no, I'm totally never doing any of that.
You don't know how many times I've gotten the look.
I know, right? Me too. Sounds like, seriously.
So I mean, so fill that out a little bit more. With the culture, building the culture of care.
I would even
go ahead.
Oh yeah, I would even say, I mean, when Dusty and I first even started being like, we're going to make a date night a regular thing. Like for him, that even just your reaction to that, I would say, or just even your reaction to,
Well, I think as, I mean, I'm not going to speak on behalf of all men here. That's for sure. But for me specifically, we're kind of like Mr. Fix-Its, like we want to just make sure that there's a solution. We usually like try to turn to, okay, like, how can I solve this problem? Okay, there's a leaky faucet, like, let me fix it. And in the situation of a date night, it's like, well, am I establishing what's necessary to be able to allow for this week to go smoother? Like, do we feel connected? I just want the end goal to be there, so I know when I show up that this is going to provide what's needed for us to be closer together. That and expectations could be met. When we first did date night, it was like a 5-minute thing. It was sitting down. I had to break through barriers of intimacy and break through barriers of being able to be vulnerable and like talk about different things. And so
Because
that,
all I wanted was to feel connected as
Sure,
a
sure.
woman, you know,
Yeah.
and I was like, well, what does that even mean?
Right.
So, you know,
Right.
and so it's just like, well, we're just going to start by talking. And so in talking and not having an expectation. So maybe like 10, 15 minutes went by and we went through 3 simple questions, you know. And even during our wedding, you know, we had our parents come up giving wisdom, and one set of parents said, talk about everything, talk about absolutely everything. And so I think that based off of that, you can really establish your why. Like if you can at least get to your family's 3 top values and 5 characteristics, then as a man you can say, well, we do this because of this. Like we're you know, we're going to end up with that end goal of what we're trying to cultivate, and it's going to bring us closer together. I don't want on the other end of like, I told you so, or like I told you this yesterday, you didn't listen to me, you know. Like if this one time a week where we sit down for 30 minutes is going to be able to allow us to not have the sense of loom and gloom of is this, you know, I don't have to read her mind, right? Like
Yeah.
there's so many guys out there that are like, you know, I'm not a mind reader, I can't read your mind. I think that is
but then they're
ultimately
not given the tools to be able to then support intimate emotional connection. And
exactly.
so I feel like Dusty's fear when we first started date night is I would end the date and just feel like so unemotionally connected and be like literally this was the worst date ever. And he'd be like, holy cow, we spent time together. You know, I mean, what else
Yeah.
do we want? And so then it was just getting into the cold hard facts of what do we want? We want connection. And so how do we get there? So
Yeah.
me, I need these questions asked. Him, he's like, I need a list of questions. We met in the middle.
Yeah.
To a female, it might be like, oh man, he doesn't know how to answer the question, ask the questions. But it's like, no, at least he wants to ask the questions
Right.
and have that connection.
And I
So
would say most men would be like, I don't know what questions to ask
Yeah.
you, because you're going to want certain things answered. And so it's like cultivating those win-wins where we can be able to get to the rock bottom of what we both need and then be able to meet there.
yeah. And I would say for Dusty, this would probably go in all aspects of health, not just with dating. But I would say you tend to, in your mind, always have a yes mindset. So if a new idea is presented and it doesn't have to be right away, but cultivating in an individual that there's going to be buy-in or a yes.
Mhm.
And we talk about that in even how to cultivate a family night, that it's not about the ideal family night. It's just about getting your family to have buy-in.
Mhm.
And with spouses, especially, and with, and that goes both ways, because if you feel as a spouse that you're coming up with all the good ideas, then your buy-in isn't so good and you need to listen to your spouse more because they have really good ideas too. And
Sure.
so I feel like with having Dusty, when we do look at the table and we do put it on the table, because my idea, I have to bring an idea with the mindset that it is subject to change, because it's only going to get better when Dusty touches it. And when he has an idea, he has to come to the table knowing it's going to have subject to change. It will be subject to change, just because when Ray gets her hands on it,
It will be better.
it will be better. So we both have to come up with ideas. But if we didn't have a yes mindset or a buy-in mindset, then I would be slower to bring ideas because I know they were going to be shut down, and he would be the same way. So as long as we both as a couple cultivate that, one, even if it's a bad idea, we're going to have buy-in and we're going to see that there's a solution. It doesn't have to look like how it was presented. And that, I would say, because we have a ton of ideas, and we're both yes people, and we both want the best for our family.
Yeah.
So it can just that yes mindset and that buy-in, I've never had a question with him. And it's only been encouraged because I feel that I've tried to reciprocate that to him too. And that would probably be, I would say, how as a male that you have definitely brought your side to the fully supported to the table.
Yeah. With a good outline. knowing what's to be expected and good, clear communication that is so important. And
Mhm.
without expectations at first, it could
Mhm.
literally be 10 minutes. But soon
One
after
right
a few
there.
weeks,
Mhm.
it turned out to be an hour and a half, like 2 hours. And it
Mhm.
was, yeah, you might surprise yourself.
I love it. Yeah. So you guys have created, 'cause I know people are like, I need tools, right? I need tools. And you guys have really created a lot of tools for families and for couples, correct?
Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah. So kind of talk a little bit about that, because I know people are going to be like, okay, now what? You guys are sounding great. So now what? Where do we
Yeah.
go?
Oh, I feel like, especially in this day and age, if you don't have a plan to fail.
Mhm.
Like, you
Right.
know, if
Mhm.
your kids, I mean, you as individuals, you as couples, you as families, you as grandparents, you as kids, you as great grandkids, you're getting hit and bombarded by millions of questions and millions of opportunities and millions of fix it solutions in the world with all this knowledge and information, with all the different things that are bombarding your religion, to bombarding your relationships, to bombarding your identity, to bombarding everything else. If you don't have a plan to fail, because whatever you don't define and whatever you don't cultivate within your family and your relationships and your kids, it will be defined for them and it will be defined for you. So every 13 seconds, a couple's getting divorced. It's
Ugh.
like, if you
Yeah.
don't have a plan for that, you will be that statistic. You know, I mean, you think of how many churches are crumbling and how many different relationships within family and children are just totally crumbling.
Right.
The culture is out there, and there's a definition for whatever topic you want to throw at it. It's just not going to be the culture of care you cultivate for yourself if you cultivate it. So I think that is so important to have a plan or plan to fail, and that's all. We're not creating any new fatty idea or solution or quick fix or anything. It's tried true historical information that has just been simplified and brought into a space where people can be able to digest it easily in 5 categories of life: and family, life, move, fuel, and care. And really tried to make it as simple as possible. To call it simple turn is just trying to make small, simple turns in life in different categories of life to be able to cultivate the culture of care you wish for your family, to be able to see that legacy last longer than you. So if you want your kids to have another family that lives past your own, that is something that you have to work for these days. It's not a given. And so, yeah, we're not trying to come up with some crazy solution for some crazy problem. It's really trying to bring it back to core basic truths, and traditional truths rather, that just really equips families to help change the world to the culture
Yeah.
that we wish to be
Yeah.
more fruitful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of our tools and products is health education curriculum, which goes into those 5 aspects of health and gives parents the opportunity to receive the education in those areas, but also education that's just appropriate for kids to be able to learn these time proven principles. So, like Dusty was saying, we don't provide anything new. It's just
Right.
we provide the structure and the tools for implementation and true healthy lifestyles to be established. And so our programs, one is called the foundations, and it goes into the fundamentals of what family is, what life is, what movement is, what care is, and how to fuel it. And then it gives lessons. It's provided with so much material. And then it ends, our favorite thing about it, it ends with a 30-day challenge. So your kids can choose 3 things that are one of those programs and be able to apply it for 30 days so that they have the sustainable change that you want to see as a parent. And so I would say that that program, the foundations, is what will cover the core basic principles of health and be able to see those sustainable changes in your family.
Mm. And I would say, piggybacking off of that, what we started off with is courses and online courses and support for patients and clients,
Mhm.
because there was just a huge need for that. And so we started building that out. And the first one we built was a sleep program. And that sleep program, the manual was over 300 pages. And we thought to ourselves, oh my goodness, we are the problem. Like, this
Right.
is
I've done
not
that too,
simple.
Dusty. Like, oh,
It
it's
is not
too
simple,
much.
right?
Yeah.
it's too much, right? And it's like, but this is the amount of information that needs to be there. And so we decided we're like, okay, we have to tier this. So we had to get back to the drawing board and revamp everything. And by building the foundations, what we did was we tried to take pretty much what would go into from a functional mindset. And I think that's what I'm going to get into next is if we could take what would cross-platform any symptom out there and then bring it into 5 different categories. And then if everybody knew this foundations, if they went through these foundations and had this, the vast majority of symptoms out there would be destroyed. The vast majority of eating disorders, of people that are focusing in on emotional stressors and family relationship issues and a lot of different things could come to that center, right? And then from there, just a healthy relationship with food. And you go to those 5 categories, a simple, basic, common binders. So we built the foundations as that. And then we started to press into focus programs. And as we pressed back into like a simple eats course, which is a focus program on nutrition, then it really kind of we can cut the fat, the healthy fat. The healthy fat, you could say it's foundations, right? And then from there, then it presses more in a focused environment once you build off of your foundation into the topic and symptom at hand. And what sets us apart from a lot of the other, let's say, influencers out there per se, is I don't know if I want to throw this terminology out there, but we're definitely not allopathic. We're definitely not medicine based. We're not Western based. We don't focus on a pill for an ill. We don't focus on a symptom mindset when it comes to, my arthritis or defining you from a particular condition. It's about your body is powerful. It was created to function optimally. And it does millions and trillions of things every second. It is so incredibly powerful and so amazing. How do we best support that? If it's not functioning optimally, how do we look at our environment, what we're giving it, what we're feeding ourselves, what's our emotional health, what we press into these 5 different categories? How can we best help bringing it back to express itself efficiently? And it's self-empowerment. It's individual first. It's not environment over self. It's not controlling. We're not controlling. We're very much support the individual to allow for that individual to thrive as optimally as possible. So many other, I would say, courses and ideologies when it comes to healthcare is very much focused on your body's weak, the environment, you're prey to the bacteria and the viruses that are around you, and your environment of stressors and relationships and everything is out to get you, versus supporting the organism that you've had that is so beautiful and powerful and how it can express itself to its full potential. And so all of our courses are very much empowering, very much that we have the capability to be able to rise to the occasion and create a healthy immune system and create a healthy marriage and healthy family and healthy identity and a healthy relationship with food, and building that philosophy of care is exactly what I'm talking about right now. And that is very much a part of our foundation, is building what that overall the definition of that you are your number one healthcare provider and what that looks like, because you are bombarded by the world defining healthcare for you. We're literally, the foundations we like to say is it's de-brainwashing people from everything that's out in the world to help you get to a point where you really believe that your body is powerful and you can give back to that, you can overcome and build something great.
I love that. Yeah, because it's just taking back your brain. Changing, remember when we were in
Yes.
nutritional therapy school, it's
Yes.
when Dr. Natasha would talk to us all the time, she's like, it's about changing the soil, right? Changing the soil so
Absolutely.
you have the proper network so that your forest grows really healthy. And that's just how I view the body and I view our family is
Exactly.
you have to have the foundational soil in there before anything else is going to grow and to thrive. And it's so, so true. Yeah. And there's lots of
we're all
things
given a plot of land.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta tend it well.
Gotta tend it well for sure. Like if you were gonna, I would love to get back to your five core values. Can you tell us what they were again? Because I'm so interested in what those are.
Yes. So our 5 core values start with a family. So family, simple family. Then simple life, which focuses on the individual.
Okay.
And then we have simple move, simple fuel, and simple care.
Okay.
So we have the family structure, we have the life structure, then we have to move it, fuel it, and care for it.
Got it. Could you give us like an example in each one of those?
Absolutely. So with family, we talk about how family is everything. There's nothing apart from family. You can't function without, if you don't have a physical, biological family, you still have a community that you're involved in. Everybody has a specific place that they need to belong. And so it's all about family's everything and how to support that, grow it, and thrive in it. And then simple life is how to invest in life. And one, it's about knowing that your identity first is not about what you do, but who you are. And then you're going to take on that responsibility of discovering your strengths as an individual and then being able to invest back in life. And then simply move is about developing a movement mindset. We're not created just for exercise. There's so much happening in our body that needs that sustainable, consistent daily movement. And it's about re-brainwashing our bodies to be like, no,
Right.
we need to move more, and
Yeah.
life is so convenient. So we talk about that in Simply Move, how life is so convenient that we have to work hard to just find basic ways to move. So it's about developing a movement mindset. And then we have simple care, which is about care for yourself. It's creating, again, a philosophy about, it's not about fix it when it's broken, but it's really becoming your number one care provider and coming back to believing that your body's powerful and that you are your number one care provider.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have simple fuel. And with simple fuel, we go in depth about what's fake food, what's real food, but then what does it do in the body? So what does food build in the body? And it goes into just different aspects of health and your body structure of what food does. So either could build it or it could break it down.
I love it. I love it. I would love how does this played out in your family? I would love an example of, because you've come up with this. So you've had to work through all these 5 areas. So
Yeah.
give us an example of what that looks like.
Well, the Hesses always take the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
There you
If
go.
stairs are an options, we always take the stairs.
And we travel a
Us
lot.
too.
So
Yes.
if that means like backpacks and suitcases and twin strapped to chest and the 9-year-old, we take the stairs.
We take the stairs.
And there's the 3 flights of escalators at the Las Vegas airport. We take the
Take the
stairs
Yep.
in front of everybody. And everybody's looking at us with these babies strapped to your chest. And you're thinking, can we grab something from you? Because
Right?
it's so
Why don't you just
abnormal.
take the escalator?
Can't you
Yeah.
just be normal for a day? Take the
No.
escalator.
No.
Yeah. I would say in Simple Family, we prioritize date night. Obviously, we talked about we have a family night, which our 9-year-old is heavily involved in and very much anticipates.
Mm-hmm.
So, and again, that can be very simple, but we ask a question just before we go into our activity. And that question is just like, what was the favorite thing that you did with daddy? What was the favorite thing that you did with me this week? And we all go around and say that. So it creates that investment. And with Simple Fuel, it's just like, is this fake food? Is this real food? Teaching our kids how to read food labels, how to know what is food and what it does in our body. So
Mm-hmm.
just like simple things. She has like a drinking chart. So she knows like this is what she's responsible for in her hydration and her daily fuel intake.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I
And
think
then
that's so key for the why part of it with kids, with the food. I remember when Karina I think she was like 6 or 7, and she put her little hands on her hips and she's like, when I am 16, I am eating wheat. And, and now she's 16.
Yeah.
And, at the time I'm like, that's fine, honey. When you're 16, you can eat wheat. That will be your choice. But, now she's 16 and she's like, I would never eat that because she knows how it makes her body feel. So she's learned over the years, we've created that culture and she's free to express, if she's like, yeah, no. But to know why that she needs to do those things, if I give her supplements or, whatever it might be, and Carter's married now and he's like, maybe I should have taken some more of those supplements when I was at home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Completely crazy. So I think it's just,
Yeah.
and allowing them to say yes or no. And then when they
Yeah.
do say no, to find out why they're saying no, I think is so key.
That was going to be my next point, because like even if we look at it, because life is not cookie cutter, right? So
Oh,
like families aren't
never.
cookie cutter. So like this whole idea of family life, move, feel, care, and like cookie cutter, and it's so perfect. It's
No.
really not. It's just you have to have a plan somewhere, but from building off that plan, you build into something that is customized for you. But at least you have something to start with.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of people that come to us and like, oh well, we live by example. It's like, well, there's so much more to cultivating at least a definable kind of rubric of what we stand by as a family. That is so
There's
powerful.
just a lot of examples out there that your kids are being exposed to outside of your example. And so if
Right.
examples are prevalent and we lead by example, how are we different than what the world
Right.
is trying to teach our kids?
And that difference presses into being able to give them in a safe environment the opportunity to be able to make mistakes, and that we don't constantly lean over them to tell them what to do. I'd say that that's probably the number one thing within our family that we try to cultivate is free thinkers, and because we live in a world of so many quick fixes and so many ideologies and so many differences. We are definitely, if you look at culture as a whole, a weird family. And we're proud of our weird. We are very proud of our weird.
There too. Yes.
Yeah, because we care about quality of life when we're in our 80s, in our
Yeah.
90s, and
Yeah.
our ability to, so there's so much that within our mission statement that we want to grow older and healthy together, and we want to be able to live as much life together as possible because we just
Mhm.
love each other.
Mhm.
So but in order to be able to cultivate the legacy that we want for our family, our kids have to be able to make decisions for themselves,
Yeah.
and they can't be reliant on us. And I think that's also a pitfall of the educational system that we have now, because it's very much we tell you what to do, and then we'll give you a grade for it. It's very much what majority of families are doing is telling their kids what to do, how to think, and this, that, and the other. But you have to, even though you may know what's best for them, give them the opportunity of three choices or something that they can be able to establish the ability to make a choice, and then actually feel the consequences of that. And then
Right.
from there, by building that free thinker, like you were talking about with your daughter when she turns 16, that she wants to
Mhm.
eat, something that's not exactly best for her body. You put anything in that blank.
Yep.
They get the opportunity to be able to grow into that as a free thinker, to be able to make those
Yeah.
decisions in a culture that we have today. That is, it's a must have.
It is.
Or
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it is a must have. I had a compliment from my girlfriend. I don't know if she started it out to be a compliment, but she says to me, she goes, as quirky as you've always been, your kids are really good. you know,
Oh, that's
and,
the best
right?
That is.
compliment.
Yeah,
I love it.
I know.
Yes.
It was great. It just warmed my heart so much because as
Yes.
you're talking, you're the odd family. I mean, I've
I
had so
know.
many
Right.
people tell
I
me over the
know.
years, like, Laurie, you're over the top. Why do you guys
Mhm.
do this? Why are you
Mhm.
homeschooling? Why do you eat this
Mhm.
way?
Mhm. Mhm.
And, I mean, my kids aren't completely, I mean, Carter is, he's married and has his own, Karina's 16. But we've created a culture of freedom, in our family. And
Mhm.
I wouldn't go back and do it any other way.
Mm,
I mean, it's just
spot
been
on.
beautiful to watch. And we haven't had trouble with our teenagers. Everybody kept saying, wait until, Karina's 13, wait until Carter's 18 or whatever it is. And I'm like, just never had that.
Yes. Yes. Well, yeah, you never had that because you had the foresight and you saw the long game instead of that short
Exactly.
game and in that immediate gratification versus, okay, no, we're going to teach self-control and we're going to teach patience these ways.
Yes.
And so that by the time you get to your adolescence, you've already learned these things and you've already developed them. So now when we're at this stage, it's just the same problem, but we just
Mm,
get to develop it at this stage of life.
Next level.
Yeah, I mean, amazing. I'm so
yeah.
proud of you, and you're
Yeah.
just such a role model to us.
And you're such a teacher, I
Yes.
mean, all these things don't have to be complicated. Relationships,
Cool.
health, etc. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be complicated, but it needs to be taught. And
Mhm.
so there are so many different situations that it's just not being taught. And then it's just, lead by example. Next thing you know, it's like they find another example that might be more
Right.
appealing to them in the moment. And then, they're off to the races. And if we tell our kids what to do when they get to their teenage years, they will find other options to press the boundaries away from our authoritative kind of ideology. It is not a good option, especially in today's world. It might have worked in the 50s, but not in today's era, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And and you just learn how to do it age appropriately. You're not going to let your 3-year-old decide if they want to touch the stove or not. You're going to tell them not to touch the stove, but you give them other options that they can choose from.
Yeah.
So, anybody listening, try not to be dogmatic or legalistic about it by any means, but
Absolutely.
within the
Yeah, no,
yeah,
that happens in such a beautiful window, right? So when you see it from a perspective of when they're under 12, you have a timeline, and if you're not intentional with that timeline, all of a sudden it gets away from you. And that's why having a plan is so important, because there's key pivotal moments that you can be able to be to show up or not show up. And if you show up, then you have the opportunity to see the outcome that you want. And then that's when you'll hear things like, oh wow, you really got lucky with your child that's so calm, or you really got lucky that they are this way, as if they're just born magically this way. And no, it's like there's a lot of hard work that goes into that,
yeah,
and the intentionality is so important. And that's part of the first lie, right? It's part of the second lie, that you're not intentional in everything, right? Or you don't have the power or the ability to, because it's all written in some random book somewhere that this is the manifest for your child when it's born. And it's like, no, actually it's not. And so yeah, you got to really break through the families that are very intentional and are very powerful and independent thinkers usually get those common phrases thrown at them all the time, like, you're so lucky to have kids like that. Oh, you're lucky with the teenagers that aren't so rebellious. Oh wow, you're so
yeah.
Yeah. I remember one comment that really stuck with me. I think my mom told me this when I was a long time ago, but she had read a book about marriage, and there was this older couple that was just, I mean, they were so cute together. They were just like flirting and just having so much fun together at this event. And there's this younger couple who are kind of like in the dregs and kind of like, oh, this is, we should be more like them, and they go up to them and they're like, man, you tell us, like, how do you, what's your secret? And they both look at each other and they're like, we work on our marriage a lot. Like, what you see is a lot of work. Like, I mean, in a good way. It's like we choose to invest in it. And so when you get the comment about Karina and your kids, it's like, those comments only come from, like, it's an iceberg. They see the tip, but everything underneath is all of the work and investment that you and Tom have put into your kids, and so it's like, wow.
It's just like finances, right? So like if you get to a point where now you're in your 50s and you're thinking, okay, now I need to start thinking about retirement, and you're looking at your bank account, it's too late. If you're looking at your body and your body's breaking down and you've got arthritic conditions and you've got inflammatory markers all over the place and your body's totally breaking down on you, and you look at your discs and your joints and your muscle tissue and you name it, you're already too late. Like the investment up front that you have at a younger years, and nobody's talking about that, right? There are people that are talking about, but you got to surround yourself with people that are actually talking about cultivating that for you. Same thing with the relationships with family. If you cultivate that in the window of kids, you don't start when they're teenagers and in their rebellious phase, right? Because if you already you're symptomatic led. At that point, you're sick care, you're not health care, right? So it's the same kind of thing. Like when you're looking at finances, you're looking at healthcare, you're looking at relationships. You got to think future pacing. What are we doing in the moment now to cultivate the end goal that we want? And then next thing you know, you're looking at your bank account in your 50s going, oh, I'm so glad that I sacrificed and didn't get that new car at that time. It's totally changed. Or I didn't buy that big house or buy that boat or whatever. It's the game of life, right? It's the investment up front. And then you start getting the compliments of like, oh, wow, you're so lucky that you have such a healthy financial state at your age, or you're so lucky that you are so well off with your family being so close and your kids not wanting to move away from you. You're so lucky that your kids eat healthy and they actually like all those different foods and they get like, it's, and they're not all hot tempered and temper tantrums and running all over the place. You're so lucky. It's like, no, it's just intentionality and believing that I'm capable of showing up in the moment.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Oh my goodness. This has been a phenomenal conversation. We could keep talking. I don't know if our listeners want us to keep talking. It's been like an hour. So we'll have to have you guys back on and just have kind of continue this conversation. So I love this. This is fantastic. So where can they find you guys?
You can find us at mysimpleturn.com, and we're on all social media platforms. Just look at Dr. Dusty and Ray and you'll find us.
Yeah.
You'll love their
As well as,
videos.
yeah,
They
Simpleton.
are
Yeah.
hilarious. Yes. So
Well, thanks so much for having
Thanks.
us on.
Yeah.
I love you to
Thank you.
pieces.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for listening. I love every single one of you. Stay tuned for the next episode. Stay healthy and be blessed.